I've never been able to say this publicly before. I don't know how I got onto it. I guess you did it. But the chemtrails are to add metallic substances to the air for them to be able to increase the electromagnetic field falsely through HAARP.
Right.
And keep it going, because when it dies, when the electromagnetic field of the Earth dies, they die. Get it? They die.
Which, I'm all for that. Hey, so John.
Yeah. Let's get it
out.
No
shit. So John mentioned an energy burst that was just detected recently from the center of the galaxy. Yeah. So you think I'm guessing that they're trying to block that too with this same technology.
Well, they can. There's only so much they can do to stop things, and they can go on with their manipulation, but it's not going to work. And right now, it's important to get out as much information as possible via the internet, and forget trying to make money off of things. And it's not going to work. It's all over. This is the one we've been waiting for, and go back into helping your friends and family and creating communities and bring the alchemical knowledge back with you, so you don't need doctors or anything. And that's where we're going. A world that is populated by maybe as many people or more people than are here right now, but you wouldn't even see them because they're in deep meditation and working their exercises with their chi, and they're in telepathic communication with each other. There's no more internet because we learned how to do it through the internet. You see, each thing that we see that we think is an artifact of a disaster is actually Sophia growing. I mean, she wanted cities. That's why she created them. She wanted art and museums and writing, and she wants all that because that's how she can retain her knowledge, because she thinks with our brains.
Is that one of the reasons why almost every major city has these huge crystals under them?
Well, the whole Earth is a crystal. It's part of her dynamic. And, what's at the center of the Earth? I mean, if you're going to take, the mineralogists at their word, then the only thing that could be at the center of the Earth is a gigantic diamond, because it's the hardest thing in the world. So it's the one thing that can't be crushed by all the pressure. But, of course, it's not electromagnetic anyway. But what's interesting, though, is that these crystals are what gives rise to a high increase in the celestial charges or particles. And so metals like gold and silver have a high amount of this charge, and crystals have a high amount of this charge. So once you understand all this, it just becomes glaringly obvious what's going on, and how they have successfully. And this is the part that's just, it's one thing to be in possession of the alchemical knowledge that can change the world, but then you look at the history of this whole thing, and you see the absolute subjugation, murder, terror, that they inflicted on people who were talking about these things, and it'll give you, you'll look twice, I guarantee it, because that is the part that gets really scary. Every time somebody starts talking about this, the hammer comes down. There's the one thing they don't want you to know about. The first thing Mao did when he took over China was to destroy the entire Qigong monasteries.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they do always. It's always what they do. They destroy the last vestiges of any of the traditions that are about gathering up the celestial influences. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And they don't want you. And the more celestial influence you gather up and take into your body, the smarter you get, because your brain is run by it. And also, since it causes levity, your capillary systems open up, and your brain gets more blood to it, so your IQ goes up, and you don't have to work as hard anymore to stay fit, and your arthritis goes away, and And they say, the legends say, that if you really know how to take the celestial element and reduce it and make it into a stone, that you will grow your hair back, grow your teeth back, your nervous system comes back, new skin comes back. So quite miraculous.
This kind of reminds me. We're gonna interview a Japanese monk who everything you described him according to legends, because I haven't witnessed him doing any of this stuff, though I've seen some amazing pictures. There's a picture of him where he was kind of balding, and you can see that he's balding, and now 5 years later, his hair is like grown back in that area.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are from the chi practices. But you never know what their real secrets are. There was a guy I knew that was building homes in India back in the 70s, and he noticed a Sufi priest that everybody in town knew and waved at every day. And one day he asked the people he was staying with who that guy was. He said, "Oh, he's, blah blah blah, the Sufi priest." And he says, "Oh, everybody likes him." Oh, he goes, "Oh yeah, he married my great-grandmother and grandfather." And he's like, "What?" The guy looks like he's about 35, right? And and so you can see that this is probably a science that's been underground since the really where the archons got heated up 2,000 years ago and started taking over everything. That's when you see the real downfall of alchemy and all of it. And I think people like John Lash and me were just kind of sick and tired of it. Like we've been watching this thing fall apart, and we had so much great potential. They burned the library at Alexandria, which had thousands of alchemical texts, and that was the Christians. And a great movie out called Agora, which is a really good movie about that.
Yeah,
and it shows them worshiping knowledge in the movie. They're constantly discussing reality and everything, and that is what we should be doing. We should be in an exploration of nature and reality to really, truly understand who we are and what we're doing here. That's what Sophia wants.
So you think when Sophia finally does wake up that it's going to be everybody on the planet, or you think there's a segment that is not going to be able to handle it and just won't do it or won't be able to wake up?
You know what? I hate to be so callous. I think it's kind of time to just quit caring about him. I tried. I'm 58. I've been trying for a long time. And, yeah, there's an awakening going on. I don't think I had much to do with it. But I'm not sure you should be so worried about awakening the unawakened. They're zombies. You might get some of them to wake up. You never know. But what we should be doing is trying to get to the awakened and get them to fully awake. They're already on the path. They're all hitting their little barricades and obstacles, which are making them not want to go the distance, because going the distance is scary. You get into conspiracies, and you get into aliens, and you get into creepy, weird stuff. It's true. But it's only by understanding all that stuff that you can also understand who we are, what our essence is, and what we need to be doing, what kind of the alchemy that we need to be doing on a daily basis. Because we're in a war, kind of, a spiritual war. And I don't think we should just let Sophia die without a struggle. I don't think that's right. And if it was a girlfriend, I'd do anything I could for her. And that's kind of how I feel about Sophia. And she's in the intensive care unit. The archons, the evil archons, are all lurking over her, ready to get the last vestiges of her energy until they just leave her, dead and limp and raped, and then they go off to their other next world to do the same thing. And I'm saying, this doesn't have to be. And my history is an exploration of ideas, and my first law is it's on my website, jweidner.com, Weidner's first universal law, which is, I have to paraphrase it, I can't remember, and I don't have it in front of me, but those ideas which are the most suppressed are most likely to be closest to the truth.
Right.
So we have to we have to look at the things that make us uncomfortable, and realize that there's a intrinsic thing going on here. We're living on a planet that's alive, and she doesn't have a plan yet, because she doesn't really know how to plan, but she can have a plan.
So we can actually work in that fashion for her. I mean, like you were talking earlier, I mean, we can formulate a plan for her to help.
That's right.
Help.
And we should make it simple. So don't make it complicated, right? We'll say, okay, well, what's the plan? Let's make it simple. Okay, the plan is what? Now, everybody has clean water, clean air. That's, everybody can agree on that. There's no way to argue there. The kids have the absolute best education they can possibly have. We decentralize everything, so it's not run. You don't need huge transport systems because she can't sustain that. It's just obvious. So we move back into communities. We take up a very low-key style of living, which is based on music and culture and learning and doing qigong and yoga and practicing alchemy, and instantly everything will get better. So we don't have to go very far with any of this. We just have to come with a few simple things. If we get complicated, we'll screw it up.
Right.
So it's just like, what do we really want? We want our friends and our family to be safe, and we want to have good food, and we want the best for our children, and want to sing together and have a good time. And we should just be allowed to do that. And the archons are always stopping that. If you watch the trail of the archons through history, they're always destroying the friendliest of the people, the happiest of the people who still sing and dance, the Irish, the Native Americans, the Jews in Europe, and it's just this history of this complete destruction against people who are really human, who are living a human life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was reading one of your things, and if you allow me to read it, it says, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a symbol is worth 1,000 pictures.
Weidner's second universal law.
Yeah, and here is Jay with the Cross of Henday. And I watched this documentary several years ago. I would never think I would be interviewing you. But when I was sitting there and watching this, and it's like, okay, I saw the alchemy, so right away I started thinking, oh, this guy, I guess he claims that he can make lead into gold. I didn't know any better at that time. And as I'm watching your documentary and I'm listening to what you're saying, I just have the oh shit moment where you're explaining how the Spaniards, when they were going over to Peru, and they were finding all these symbols and understanding it, and then putting it in Europe in different places.
Yeah, it's more proof of everything, and also of a group of secret society that seems to be moving things around for us and giving us ideas and symbols. There is a group of good guys, I guess you could say. I call them the roosters. There's the elites have the roosters and they have the owls, and the owls are trying to keep us asleep, and the roosters are waking us up. And I don't know why there would be elites that try to wake us up, but there are. And they're actually on our side. Sort of like Prometheus stealing fire. He was a god, and he stole fire and gave it to humans, and then we learned how to cook and make chemistry and things from having fire, and he was tortured for eternity by having his guts being ripped out by a bunch of crows. Well, that's sort of like there's these guys, and they're secretly helping us. They feel sorry for us or something, and they're pushing us along on a path. And we have to realize that there's no accident. So if you think there's like a bunch of synchronicities happening in your life, then maybe Sophia is trying to talk to you. It's the same thing with shamanic substances that are organic, like dimethyltryptamine or the ayahuasca and mushrooms. These are the way that Sophia this is how you learn the knowledge of Sophia.